Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The sun had just begun to set over the racetrack, bathing the deserted grandstands in a warm golden light. Jim stood alone at the starting line, his tall, lean figure silhouetted against the fading day. He breathed in the familiar scent of rubber and gasoline, his heart pounding with anticipation. It had been too long since he'd felt the rush of speed, the thrill of competition. A twisted mix of emotions churned within him as he yearned to reclaim his former glory. It's been too damn long. The words escaped his lips, carrying a mixture of determination and longing. He craved the feeling of being at one with a powerful machine hurtling towards the finish line. "You okay there, boss?" The concerned voice of his longtime crew chief, Mac, interrupted his reverie. Jim snapped back to the present, offering a weak smile. "Yeah, just taking it all in. It's been a while." Mac's weathered face creased with sympathy. "I know how much you miss it, but we gotta be careful. One wrong move and—" I know. Jim cut him off, not wanting to dwell on the accident that had nearly taken his life and abruptly ended his racing career. "But a guy can dream, can't he?" Mac patted him affectionately on the shoulder. "Just be careful, all right? We can't afford any more setbacks." Jim nodded, his gaze fixed on the empty track stretching before him. "I will. But I gotta feel that rush again, Mac. I gotta prove I still got it." Little did he know that his desire to return to the racetrack would lead him down a path far more transformative and exhilarating than he could have ever imagined. And it would all begin with the enigmatic Laura. The next day, Jim was seated at his desk, poring over a stack of paperwork, when his phone buzzed with an incoming call. Frowning at the unfamiliar number, he answered, his voice brisk and professional. "Jim Jensen," a silky, smooth female voice, like a song, purred through the line. "Jim, it's Laura. We haven't officially met, but I understand you're looking for a female driver for your team." Jim's brow furrowed. "Laura?" The name didn't ring a bell. "Yeah, that's right. How did you—" "Let's just say I have my sources." Her voice held a hint of mysterious amusement. "I know you're looking for something special, something that will really get people talking, and I think I might be exactly what you're looking for." Intrigued, Jim sat up straighter. "Is that so?" "Indeed. I have a proposition for you, Jim. A rather unique one." Jim found himself leaning forward, his curiosity piqued. "I'm all ears." "Excellent." Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "I propose we meet in person to discuss the details. Let's say tonight at the Pit Stop Bar. It's neutral ground, of our world, but disconnected enough for a private conversation." The Pit Stop. It was a local dive frequented by race car drivers and enthusiasts alike. Neutral ground, just as she said. "All right, Miss Laura. Tonight it is." "Wonderful. Just ask for Laura when you arrive. You won't miss me, I promise." With that, she hung up, leaving Jim staring at his phone, his curiosity and anticipation mounting. As evening fell, Jim entered the pit stop, the familiar hum of conversations and the tangy scent of beer greeting him. Scanning the crowd, he spied Laura seated at the far end of the bar. She was impossible to miss, a vision in a form-fitting red dress, her blonde hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She exuded an air of confidence and mystery, and heads turned as she sipped casually on a cocktail. Striding over, he extended a hand. "Laura, I presume?" A smile played at the corners of her full lips as she took his hand, her touch sending a jolt through him. "Indeed. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Jim." Her eyes sparkled with unspoken secrets. He gestured to the seat across from her. "What can I do for you?" She leaned forward, her expression intense. "I know about your desire to get back on the track, Jim, and I'm here to offer you a chance to do just that, but with a twist." He narrowed his eyes, intrigued. "Go on." With deliberate slowness, she reached into her purse and withdrew an ornate glass bottle, the liquid inside glowing with an ethereal light. Have you ever heard of body-swapping magic, Jim? His breath caught as a wave of excitement washed over him. You mean, like trading bodies? She nodded, her eyes never leaving his. Exactly. This potion has the power to swap our bodies. You would become me, and I would become you. Jim's heart hammered in his chest. He had always felt a secret fascination with the idea of swapping bodies, especially with a woman. The thrill of experiencing life from an entirely different perspective was irresistible. And you're offering this to me? I am. But it comes with a price, Jim. A price I know you'll be willing to pay. Laura leaned back, taking a leisurely sip of her drink. What sort of price? He asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling within him. A mischievous glint entered her eye. Well, it's not just your body that will transform. Your identity will change as well. People will see you as Laura, the female racer. Your privacy and reputation will no longer be your own. Jim's eyes widened as the full implications sank in. He would truly step into a new life, a new identity. The rush of it was exhilarating. And what about my life now? My team? My success? Laura waved a dismissive hand. Your team will continue to thrive, but from the shadows. They'll work for Laura now, a mysterious new female driver who's taking the racing world by storm. The image of himself as a female racer, commanding attention and respect, was irresistibly appealing. I see, he breathed. You've always craved the fame, Jim, the spotlight. Admit it. Laura's voice was low and persuasive. This is your chance to have it all. The thrill of racing, the adoration of fans, and being a woman. Jim's heart hammered as she spoke the truth he had kept hidden, even from himself. He wanted it all. The racing, the glory, and the thrill of embracing his feminine side. What happens if I agree? What do I need to do? A slow, satisfied smile spread across Laura's face. First, you agree to my terms. You'll accept the consequences, the loss of your privacy, the transformation of your identity. He swallowed, his throat suddenly dry. And if I do? Then, she continued, we perform the swap. We drink the potion and our souls trade places. You'll step into my body and I'll step into yours. Laura's eyes gleamed with anticipation, mirroring his own. Jim's heart pounded, his body charged with adrenaline. This was it, the moment he had unconsciously longed for. But could he truly give up his identity, become someone else entirely? And there's no going back? Laura shook her head. None. This is a permanent decision, Jim. Once we swap, there's no turning back. The finality of her words struck him, but the prospect of remaining as he was suddenly seemed far more terrifying than embracing this strange, wonderful transformation. Then I accept. The words escaped his lips before he could overthink them. A triumphant smile lit up Laura's face. Wonderful. Then let's not waste any more time. She slid the bottle across the table, the glowing liquid inside seeming to beckon him. Jim's hand trembled as he picked up the bottle, his heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and nerves. This was madness, and yet it felt so unbelievably right. To new beginnings, he whispered, raising the bottle to his lips. To being the woman you've always wanted to be. Laura raised her own bottle, her blue eyes fixed on his. In a swift motion, they both tilted their heads back and drank, the sweet, heady liquid sliding down their throats. For a moment, nothing happened, and then Jim's world exploded into a kaleidoscope of color and sensation. He felt his body shifting, changing, the very fabric of his being rearranging itself. He fell back against the bar stool, eyes wide as he experienced the most extraordinary sensation, that of becoming a woman. He felt his chest swell, his hips broaden, and his legs lengthen. His skin softened, becoming smooth and supple, and his hair, it tumbled down his back, long and silky. The whole transformation felt like an explosion of rainbows with the most powerful fireworks. But it wasn't just his body that changed. His clothes transformed as well, the stiff fabric of his suit melting away to be replaced by the soft, clingy fabric of Laura's dress. He felt himself settling into his new form, his mind adapting to the female body with surprising ease. When he opened his eyes, he saw Laura standing before him, tall and broad-shouldered, her face alight with excitement. Then he remembered Laura was him and he was Laura. "Oh my God!" The words escaped his, now her, lips, her voice high and soft. She brought a hand to her mouth, feeling the plumpness of her new lips, the smoothness of her skin. "I'm a woman?" Laura, his former self, grinned, a mix of pride and mischievousness in his eyes. "You sure are, babe, and a fine one at that." She stood, her legs slightly unsteady beneath her new form. "This is incredible." She looked at her new body. "I told you it would be quite a ride, didn't I?" "Laura," Jim said, his voice rich with satisfaction. "You did," she murmured, still absorbing the magnitude of the transformation. He took her by the hand, his eyes sparkling with excitement. "Come on, let's get out of here. There's so much more for you to experience." She allowed herself to be led out of the bar, her senses reeling. As they stepped into the cool night air, she turned to him, her eyes shining. "What now?" A sly smile curved his lips. "Now, my dear Laura, the fun really begins." And thus, Jim, now Laura, embarked on a journey of self-discovery and transformation like no other. Over the coming weeks, he explored his new identity, reveling in the thrill of being a woman. He quickly grew accustomed to his softer, more curvaceous body, the swish of his long hair, and the way his heart raced when he caught a reflection of himself in the mirror. The racing world, however, knew none of this. To them, Laura was an enigmatic new female driver who had suddenly appeared on the scene, signing with Jim's former team. Her skill and talent were undeniable, and she quickly rose through the ranks, captivating fans and competitors alike with her bold driving and mysterious persona. But behind closed doors, Jim embraced his true passion, the thrill of being Laura. He spent hours experimenting with makeup, trying on dresses, and reveling in the feel of silk and lace against his new skin. He discovered a love for high heels, the click-clack of stilettos on hardwood floors sending a thrill through him. There were moments of confusion and self-doubt, especially when confronted with the realities of a woman's body. But these moments were fleeting, overshadowed by the sheer joy and excitement of his new life. As Laura, he experienced the world in a whole new light. He found himself noticing the subtle ways in which men and women were treated differently, the subtle biases and expectations that came with his new gender. It was a learning curve, but one that he embraced, using his platform as a racer to challenge stereotypes and champion women in the sport. One evening, as he prepared for a big race, he caught sight of his reflection in the mirror. Dressed in his racing suit, his blonde hair pulled back into a sleek ponytail. He paused, marveling at how natural this all felt. "You look ready to kick some ass out there." Jim's voice startled him, and he turned to see his former self, now his confidant and closest ally, leaning against the doorway. Laura smiled, feeling a surge of gratitude for Jim's support and understanding. "I hope so. I want to do right by the team, by you." Jim pushed away from the doorframe, his eyes intense. "You will. But remember, you're doing this for yourself too, Laura. This is your dream just as much as it ever was mine." She nodded, feeling a rush of emotion. Jim was right. This wasn't just about the team or the fans. It was about fulfilling her own desires, embracing her true self. "Thank you." "Anytime." Jim's expression softened. "You know, when I first swapped bodies with you, I thought it would be all about the racing. But seeing you embrace this new life, seeing how happy it makes you, that's become just as important to me." Laura's heart swelled. She knew that Jim had truly come to care about her, perhaps even love her, in a way he never expected. "It means a lot to have your support. I know this isn't what you expected when you made the swap." He grinned, a hint of mischief returning to his eyes. "Yeah, I'll admit I was mostly thinking about the track when I made that deal with you, but now—" He shrugged, a gesture that seemed oddly familiar, even though it came from his taller, broader frame. "Now, I can't imagine ever going back. This whole experience has opened my eyes in ways I never anticipated." She smiled, knowing that they shared a unique bond, a secret that tied them together forever. "Me neither." Leaning casually against the doorframe, Jim regarded her with a playful glint in his eye. "So, any pre-race rituals I should know about? Any lucky charms or superstitions?" She laughed, feeling the tension of the upcoming race ease slightly. "Just the usual. I like to run through the course in my head, visualize every twist and turn, and I always wear my lucky earrings." She touched the sparkling diamond studs that Jim had given her before the first race. "Well, you look damn lucky to me." Jim's voice was warm, his expression fond. "Go out there and show him what a real racer looks like." With a final nod, she turned and headed for the door, feeling his gaze on her as she walked away. As she stepped out into the bright lights of the racetrack, the roar of the crowd washed over her, fueling her with determination. She was Laura, a force to be reckoned with, and she was about to show the world just what she was capable of. The race was a blur of speed and adrenaline, Laura's heart pounding as she hurtled around the track, her tires screeching through every turn. She pushed the car to its limits, her years of experience and natural talent guiding her. As she crossed the finish line, the realization hit her. She had won. The crowd went wild, their cheers and applause drowning out the thunder of the engines. Laura raised her arms in victory, a rush of triumph surging through her. She had done it. She had won her first race as a woman. As she climbed out of the car, the familiar figure of Jim was there to greet her, his face alight with pride and excitement. He enveloped her in a hug, lifting her off the ground as the crowd continued to cheer. "You did it!" he exclaimed, his voice thick with emotion. "You showed them all, Laura!" She hugged him back, her heart overflowing with gratitude and joy. "We did it," she whispered, knowing that their connection and unique bond had made this possible. The post-race celebrations were a blur of champagne and congratulations. Laura reveled in the feeling of being a winner, of having overcome challenges and defied expectations. She was on top of the world, and she knew that this was just the beginning. As the celebration died down, Laura and Jim found a quiet moment alone, away from the triumphant crowd and well-wishing team members. They stood side by side, gazing out at the now deserted racetrack, the sky a kaleidoscope of colors as the sun set. "I can't thank you enough for this, Jim," Laura murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "For giving me this chance to be me, to live my truth." He turned to her, his expression soft and sincere. "I should be thanking you, Laura. You've shown me a whole new world. I never thought I'd feel this way, that I'd care more about being a woman than about the races." He shook his head, a wondrous smile playing at his lips. "It's like I've finally found a part of myself that was missing all these years." She understood exactly what he meant. This journey had been about so much more than just a body swap. It had been about discovering their true selves, embracing their desires, and challenging societal expectations. "We're in this together, Jim. Always." He nodded, their hands finding each other, lacing their fingers together. "Together," he whispered, bringing her hand to his lips and placing a soft kiss on her knuckles. In that moment, Laura knew that their connection ran far deeper than their shared secret. They were kindred spirits, bound by a transformative experience that had changed their lives forever. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.